Good morning, Coach. We'll get started here with Paul and then John.
Morning, Jim. I
Morning.
wanted to ask you about Michael Jaquette and his play on Sunday. I mean, you could look at the numbers and nothing else, and would think he probably had a bad game like everybody else. But he seemed to battle Hopkins from beginning to end, even on that game-winning touchdown. Seemed to have good coverage. I'm curious what your thoughts are on his performance.
Yeah, he was set back in training camp because we didn't have preseason games. And, every player goes through, every rookie goes through a system where they start off looking really good and then they go through the doldrums of training camp where they really struggle and, everything becomes overwhelming. It was easy at first and then it just becomes super hard. And everybody goes through that. And then they play some preseason games and get some stuff under their belt and they gain a little bit of confidence and that sort of carries them through like, hey, I can do this. But unfortunately, we never really had that with Michael this year. So after we were able to get him back on the practice squad, he was able to keep practicing and go. And then, against the Cowboys the last time, had to go in and play. And one thing about him is he is a confident player, and that means a lot at the corner position. And he doesn't get down if he gives up a play. He knows what the score is out there. Meaning, he knows that you don't pitch many shutouts on the outside part of the field. You're going to have to battle, particularly against great players. They're going to win some. You're going to win some. And I think that's been the thing I'm most impressed by him. He's also, for a former wide receiver, he's played really tough. He hasn't been shy about contact, getting into the mix, and has played with a lot of spirit. So I've really been proud of him. Just like a lot of other players, the whole process we've gone through this year has really stunted a lot of players' development. But he's gaining ground. He's improving every day, and I was just like you. I was more impressed, with the way he bounced back and the way he kept competing and the way he kept challenging, as opposed to the plays that he gave up.
Go ahead, John, and then Rob Kessner.
Hey, good morning, Jim. I guess we'll follow up with the other move in the secondary. Marcus Epps kind of filling in for Rodney, came up with the big red zone pick. What have you seen from him and his ability? Particularly, it seems you like him in that single high spot at times.
Yeah, he's done that. He did that for us last year when he came in as a rookie. But pretty much the only thing he ever really had to do last year for us was play the middle of the field. And he was another guy that got hurt this year. And again, it's that guy's back ability to to learn different positions and do those things. So obviously, with Rodney hurt, a lot more fell on him. It fell on Kayvon Wallace also. And both of those guys went out. They made some plays, they made some mistakes. Getting a red zone turnover is big. Takes points off the board. So that was huge. Getting a couple red zone takeaways in that game was huge. We weren't playing great. We were giving up a lot of yards, but in a bend but don't break world, those turnovers mean a lot. As did fourth down stop. You get a fourth down stop. In my experience, a fourth down stop is basically 3 points. Because if they go for it in fourth down in the red zone, they've turned down a field goal, and if they go for it in fourth down around midfield, you get a stop. You've put your offense in really good position to get a field goal, maybe even a touchdown. So we've always counted a fourth down stop like a 3-point play, and we were able to get one of those also. But yeah, excellent break on the ball in our cover two. We were playing a lot more too with some of the stuff we were doing, but they tried to hit a ball that people try to hit in cover two, try to get one down the middle, and he had a great break on the ball to break that one up. I really thought that was his best play. The interception, the quarterback just sort of threw it to him. He wasn't perfect, missed tackle on a touchdown, but he battled. He's a very competitive player, and you know, and he does a good job of directing traffic out there. That was a little bit of an issue for us, particularly early in the game. We had so many guys out there, a little bit like our offensive line, so many different combinations of guys. You know, Roby playing outside, and you know, Key coming in, and Jaquette and Kayvon, and you know, all those other guys, and he did a good job directing traffic for us back there. It took a little while, but we were able to get our feet under us in that game and get settled down, and Epps had a lot to do with that.
Rob and then Zach.
Morning, Jim. Want to ask you about Brandon Graham. He gets his first Pro Bowl nod last night. One, what was your reaction to the news, and just what has he meant to your defense this year?
Man, there were some tears shed in the coaching staff rooms last night. You know, just a totally deserving guy. You know, he's had a long career, and he's been a very good player for a long time. But to get his first Pro Bowl nod, it sort of choked everybody up, because we know what kind of guy. I mean, you guys know what kind of guy he is. You know, I think the fans know what kind of guy he is. He's persevered through some tough times early in his career. He's battled some injuries. You know, he's an incredibly hard worker. He plays with a lot of spirit. All the things that you respect about a player, Brandon Graham personifies. So for him to get that nod was big, and you know, Fletch also. You know, those guys up front to get recognized was big. I mean, it doesn't count on the win-loss column, but you know, there's some personal stories in the game that, you know, you root for guys. We talked about young guys like Jaquette or Epps or anybody else that's trying to make a career for themselves and trying to experience some success, and you know, and you root for those guys and you celebrate their successes. You know, and it's the same thing with guys like Fletch and BG and Kelsey.
Go ahead, Zach, and then Jeff.
Hey, Jim. You've had about a month now of seeing Alex Singleton as an every down linebacker. How do you think he's grown in that role, and is that something you think he can be going forward?
Yeah, he's another guy that's been improving. You know, he's another guy that had a hard time starting his career. You know, got cut a bunch of times. You know, had to go to the CFL, came back, earned his my own special teams, and you know, and then started being able to get a little bit more for us. You know, I think his you see a lot of plays that he makes in the run game, and where he was, you know, still sort of a work in progress was in the pass game. There was a lot of, you know, things in the pass game that, you know, mistakes that he would make or things that he could do better. And but I really see his arrow being up in those categories too now. You know, he's become a much more consistent zone player. You know, he's become better at directing traffic back there. I mean, making all the calls and, you know, being on the field for every snap is a lot different than being a complimentary player. So he's grown in all those things. And knowing the kind of guy he is, he'll continue to grow, and that speaks well for him and for us.
Jeff, and then Bo.
Jim, if I could follow up on Brandon Graham, do you have a favorite story about Brandon in your 5 years together?
Probably my favorite Brandon Graham story was I coached him in the Senior Bowl when he was coming out of Michigan. And, you know, we sort of sat the D-line down and said, like, hey, this is the way the game's going to be played. Like, hey, it's an all-star game. Nobody's interested in running the ball. They're going to pass on every down. So we're not playing the run. We're passing. We're pass rushing. And, you know, this is the way we're going to do it, and those different things. And he had an outstanding game and had a lot to do. I think at the time he was considered like maybe a second-round draft pick or something, and a lot based off of that game. People could see him rush and, you know, see a lot of the things that we use him in now. And he moved up significantly in the draft. And I remember, so anyway, the night before the game, as I was the head coach, I had a coaching staff meeting, and I said, all right, I got $500 for whoever picks the game MVP, but I get first pick. and I picked Brandon Graham. So I didn't have to pay out any money to anybody because he was MVP. But that's probably my best story with him. And but also I think what you can't overlook with Brandon is he wasn't an immediate success as a rookie. And it's tough business in the NFL. There's a lot of scrutiny. There's scrutiny from the fans. There's scrutiny from the media. There's scrutiny from the locker room. Scrutiny from the coaches. That's tough to deal with. He never lost his faith. He never wavered, and he got past that and has gone on to have an outstanding career. And he has a lot left on his career. I'm really proud of him.
Bo and then Nick.
Hey, Coach. Generally speaking, how do you balance, playing a veteran who is a little bit more reliable versus potentially playing a younger guy who might have some more upside?
Just in general.
Generally speaking, yeah. Like, how difficult is that as part of the coaching business?
Well, everything's just bottom line. Do what's best to win a game. We're a short-term focus group. It's our job to try to go win on Sunday, and whatever we think gives the best opportunity to win on Sunday, that's what we do. Player development is an important part of what we do here. But it doesn't compromise doing whatever's best to go win the game, and we'd all sell our souls for a win. I think you got a pretty good example of that with the Jets. The Jets were trying to win. They didn't care what happened in the draft or anything else. They're selling their souls to win that game. That's the way players are. That's the way coaches are. We're all competitors, and we're going to do whatever we can to win on that Sunday.
Nick and then Dave.
Hi, Jim. You had mentioned about using guys in a variety of roles that you might not have had to do if it wasn't for a season like this with, all the injuries and COVID-19. But the flip side of that is that sometimes you get to discover things about players that you might not have otherwise known. Have you had any of that with some guys this year? That you might not have seen, had you not been forced into these kind of extraordinary circumstances?
I don't know. I really don't feel that way. I think it's more just a result of guys getting opportunities because of an injury, and you see more that way. I do think the only thing that's COVID related this year has been our expanded rosters and our ability to bring guys up on game day. So you have some practice squad guys that you can add to the Sunday roster that you couldn't do really before because you'd have to expose them to waivers, and you have guys you didn't want to lose and stuff like that. So I think that's probably the biggest thing that I'd go with your question is those have been more opportunities for guys, and we've seen it across the board in on our team, both offense and defense, being able to elevate practice squad guys. They can go out, play special teams, might even have to throw in the mix and play on offense or defense. So there has been more opportunity for those guys as a result of the expanded rosters.
We've got time for two more, so Dave and then Martin.
Hey, Jim, when you were talking about Mike Jacquet, you mentioned the difficulty this year for rookies in this unusual season. How much of it has just been on them because of all this? I mean, how much extra work have they had to put in to try to catch up?
Yeah, I mean, again, everybody works hard in this league. And, I mean, if you guys were able to come to our practices, you would see a significant portion of our team staying afterwards. Our practice is over. Doug calls them all off, gives them their marching orders, and then they go right back to work. I mean, it's really impressive because everybody's hungry for that. They're hungry for meetings. They can't be in meetings in person. So it's really changed. Guys are always hard working. It's really just changed the avenues that they're able to get some extra seasoning and get some extra attention. It's become doing it remotely. It's become staying on the practice field after practice is over, trying to get some individual attention, hands-on. And they also do the way our stuff goes, there is more free time in the day because of transition time and guys having to stay home to do meetings and stuff. So they do have a little bit more time for sort of self-directed film study. But it's really just sort of just shuffling their time. This has benefited guys that are good workers and diligent and organized guys and disciplined guys when it comes to their work process.
Go ahead, Martin.
Hey, Jim. I was just kind of curious. You kept Jalen Mills at safety. I mean, I know he played some corner because Kevon got hurt, but I was just kind of wondering what the decision was, as far as keeping him there, and how do you think he did overall?
Well, I really wanted to keep him there because of our communication. We knew we were going to have all those guys playing different positions, and it was like, look, let's keep one rock in the same position, and and I thought that was important. His communication was outstanding. He had a bad play in the game. Gave up a short completion and then missed a tackle, and it was a big play. But I think a lot of the rest of the stuff sort of goes unsung with a player like that. He was working really hard during the game, sort of hand in hand with me to give me my eyes on the field, my ears on the field. Hey, what's going on out there? What can we do to settle these guys down? Jay is outstanding on the sideline. I mean, he's intense. He's competitive. He is always positive. I've really been impressed by his demeanor. He was a little bit more sort of fiery as a corner, and it was a one-on-one game out there. But he's outstanding as a safety when it comes to communication on the sideline, when it comes to getting the guys together, putting fires out, communicating with linebackers, communicating with his coaches. I think that's been a big step in his career. He made a big was able to get Kyler Murray on the ground, get the ball back for our offense one time, and we know that's not an easy tackle to make. It wasn't a tackle to go down, in the form tackle, but the most important thing about tackle is get them on the ground before it sticks, and we were able to get the ball back for our offense, and that was a big play in the game. Unfortunately, we weren't able to win the game. It's hard to point to things like that, but some of those things fly a little bit below the radar with Jalen.
Thanks, Coach.